Second, language acquisition refers to the process of learning a non-native language after acquiring the first language either in a naturalistic or formal setting. The field of SLA emerged in the mid-20th century, influenced by linguistic and psychological theories. It moved away from traditional methods like grammar translation and memorization to focus on deeper mechanisms of language learning. Understanding how learners acquire a second language, what makes certain strategies effective, and what factors influence success. SLA theories provide frameworks for interpreting language learning processes and offer guidance for teaching practices. Structural linguistics, developed by Ferdinand de Saussure, analyzes language as a system of signs where meaning arises from the arbitrary but fixed relationship between the physical form of a sign and its associated concept. For example, in phonology, a child learning to speak might struggle with the TH sound. They might say think instead of think. This means they are still learning the specific sounds of their language. In morphology, a student learning Spanish might be confused by the different verb endings like y hablo ends differently than habla or hablamos, as they change based on the person and tense. In syntax, a speaker of Spanish might make mistakes in English word order. They might say, yesterday I to school went, instead of I went to school yesterday. This is because the word order in Spanish is different from English. It investigates how language changes over time, how individuals acquire knowledge, and how different groups use language in unique ways. For example, it might study how slang evolves among teenagers, how children learn grammar through interaction, or different cultures use language to express politeness. Behavioral linguistics recognizes that language is more than just a set of rules and structures. It's a tool for building relationships, expressing emotions, and shaping our understanding of the world. It examines how language is used to negotiate power, express identity, and create shared meaning. It examines how language functions in different social media settings, how it influences our thoughts and actions, and how it shapes our understanding of the world around us. For example, a teacher shows a letter A and says A. Student repeat A. They get a sticker for saying it right. This helps them connect the letter with its sound. A teacher says magnificent and uses it in a sentence. Students try to use it in their own sentences. They get a thumbs up for using it correctly. This helps them learn the word's meaning. A teacher explains a grammar rule, like subject-verb agreement. Students practice using the rule in sentences. They get points for using it correctly. This helps them remember the rule and use it correctly. This approach seeks to identify the underlying principles and structures that govern the production and interpretation of language, aiming to explain how humans are able to create and understand novel utterances. Some focus on the abstract, formal rules of grammar, while others explore how these rules interact with our cognitive abilities and social contexts. This makes generative linguistics a complex and dynamic field of study. For example, a child who has never heard the phrase, "the cat sat on the mat," might still understand the sentence when they heard it, and even be able to create similar sentences like, "the dog sat on the chair." This suggests an innate understanding of basic sentence structure, regardless of specific words. A fluent English speaker might know the correct grammatical rules for using articles, a versus the. But in a fast-paced conversation, they might accidentally say "I want a apple" instead of "I want an apple." This shows a difference between their internal knowledge of grammar and their actual speech production. Cognitive psychology is a study of how people think, focusing on mental processes like perception, memory, attention, and problem solving. It's like looking inside our minds to see how we take in information, remember things, pay attention, and figure things out. It explores how thoughts, emotions, creativity, and problem-solving skills interact to shape our thinking. It means that all these things work together to make us think the way we do. Cognitive psychologists try to understand how we organize our thoughts, measure different types of intelligence, and compare different aspects of cognition. They want to know how our brains work, that make us smart, and how different people's thinking styles compare. In this example, a child learned to say "mommy" and "milk" without studying grammar rules. They acquire these words naturally through listening and interacting. Later, in school, they might learn the grammatical concept of nouns and verbs, but their initial fluency came from subconscious acquisition. A language learner says, "I ate pizza yesterday," but then corrects themselves to "I ate pizza yesterday." They consciously realize the mistake and use their knowledge of grammar to fix it. A language learner who knows basic greetings might share a conversation about hobbies. They may not understand everything, but hearing the slightly more advanced language helps them to pick up new words and phrases. A language learner who is excited about learning a new language might be eager to practice and talk even if they make mistakes. A learner who is afraid of making mistakes might be more hesitant to speak. A language learner might learn to say "I walk" and "I walk" before learning "I will walk" or "I would walk." This suggests a natural progression with simpler structures mastered before more complex ones.